Welcome! Today we're diving into a really powerful parable from our source material. It's a story that explores two totally clashing views of justice, of human potential, and a fascinating concept called the venom of equality. It's an incredible look at what can hide behind some of our most virtuous-sounding words.
So the story kicks off with this really compelling idea that the most dangerous things we face aren't out there in the world, they're actually inside our own hearts. This just sets the stage perfectly for a pretty profound lesson about the motivations that really drive us.
Okay, so picture this. The story's set in a temple courtyard. There's a Nazarene figure, and he's just watching the crowd. Now, on the surface, he sees all the prayer and piety you'd expect. But underneath that, he senses this quiet, simmering resentment, an envy aimed at anyone with wealth or power. And that one observation, that's the seed for his entire lesson.
And here it is, our central metaphor. The Nazarene gives this ideology of resentment a name, the tarantulas. Like a creature that poisons from the shadows. And their weapon isn't a sword or a spear, it's an idea. It's what he calls the lie of equality, and we are absolutely about to unpack what that means.
This, right here, is the core accusation in the whole parable. The Nazarene is arguing that when these tarantulas call for equality, it's not coming from some noble desire to lift everyone up. No, he claims it's actually a destructive impulse, one that's born from envy. It's just a way to bring the powerful and the great down to their own level.
All right, so to really get this conflict, we need to dissect one side of it first, the tarantulas, or as the parable calls them, the preachers of nothingness.
So according to the parable, the tarantulas aren't actually aiming for a better world, but a lesser one. Their ultimate goal is what's called a flat, sterile plane, a world where any kind of greatness has been systematically poisoned and leveled out, making excellence pretty much impossible. It's a mindset that the story warns can pop up anywhere that resentment starts to fester.
The parable kind of breaks down their motivations into three key poisons. First, there's a secret envy of everything they feel they can't be. Second, there's this deep desire for revenge that they disguise as a call for justice. And third, they praise weakness, not because they think it's virtuous, but because it can't challenge them.
And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It perfectly illustrates the alleged hypocrisy at the heart of this tarantula ideology. On the left, you see the mask they wear, these wonderful words like equality and justice. But on the right, you see the reality the parable claims is hiding right underneath, a desire for revenge and a world where no one can ever be greater than them.
So, if all of that is the poison, then what's the antidote? Well, the parable presents a completely opposing worldview, what it calls the justice of the earth, or the Übermensch philosophy.
And here's where things get really radical. This is the foundational principle of this opposing view. It's a wild statement. It argues that inequality isn't some problem that needs to be solved, but that it's a fundamental, even glorious truth of existence, the very thing that gives life its drive and its purpose.
But this philosophy isn't just about accepting inequality. It actually has a goal, and that goal is the Übermensch, or the overman. Now, this isn't some person who's just born superior. It's a potential, a higher state of being that anyone can strive for. It's something that is forged through struggle, not just given. It represents the triumph of your own creative will over your limitations.
So how do you get there? Well, the path has three clear steps. First, greatness is born from struggle. Second, it's fueled by inequality. Without difference, there's no real reason to improve, right? And third, the core instruction here is to reject that poison of envy and instead embrace what it calls the beautiful struggle of becoming more. It's all about constant self-creation.
Okay, now that we've defined both of these philosophies, let's put them head-to-head and really explore the core conflict here, stagnation versus striving.
You can see the fundamental divide right here. On one side, you have a core value of enforced equality, where justice is really just rooted in resentment. And on the other, you have a celebration of glorious inequality, where justice is found in the natural order of striving for more.
And that contrast, it goes all the way to their ultimate goals. The tarantulas see anyone strong as a threat that needs to be eliminated, because they're aiming for a safe, sterile world. The Übermensch philosophy sees the strong as an inspiration, an ideal to surpass, in a world of constant growth and becoming.
Okay, let's go back to our story in the temple courtyard for its final, really powerful scene. This is where this abstract philosophical conflict becomes very, very real.
So as the Nazarene finishes his teaching, he's immediately challenged by this angry priest.
And you have to listen to the words the priest uses. He doesn't just disagree, he threatens him with justice.
And this is the mic drop moment of the entire parable. The Nazarene just calmly points out that the priest's cry for justice is the perfect, real-time demonstration of his whole point. It's not a call for fairness, it's a threat. It is, exactly as he says, revenge cloaked in the language of virtue.
Ultimately, this explainer of the source material isn't about giving us easy answers. It's about giving us a new, critical lens. It's urging us to look beyond the surface of virtuous language and really question the intent behind the words we hear every single day.
And so we're left with this final, really provocative question. When we hear these calls for equality, is the goal to create a leveled world that's born from resentment, or is it a genuine call to embrace the struggle and rise together? The parable suggests that the motivation behind the words changes everything.